Hi, my name is Dax, and you're watching my YouTube channel that at this time that I'm recording this does not have a name. Or you might be listening to this on the Babble on the Great podcast, wherever you can get your podcasts. I'm joined by my guest, Mara Fayde, and she is ex-Jehovah's Witness who also happens to have been one of the Anointed. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mara.
Hi, I'm Mara Fayde. I've been part of the XJW community for about 2 years now.
Okay, awesome. And do you have kids, a spouse?
I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, 14 and 12. And then I
Oh,
have my spouse who I am thankful left with me.
oh, well, that's awesome. So, just a little bit of more secular stuff. What do you do for work?
I'm a bookseller. So
Oh,
my
oh,
dream
that's
job,
cool.
yes, I work at
So,
a huge bookstore. Yay.
oh my gosh, that's awesome. Do you have any recommendations for books that you've been reading recently?
Yes, I've been reading Sapiens. It's taken me a while to get through it, but it is amazing.
Oh, cool.
By Yuval Noah Harari.
Yuval Noah Harari. I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Yes, highly recommend. I also enjoy reading books about cognitive dissonance. Um,
Ooh, I can't imagine why.
yes, there's one called Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me. That one was instrumental in helping me wake up because I read it as a preemie and it challenged my thinking.
I'm adding that to my list as well.
Awesome.
Alrighty. So what's your current status as an ex-Jehovah's Witness? Are you physically and mentally out? Are you fully out?
So we are faded. Yes, we are POMO. Our last meeting was in October of 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's
Hmm.
been a while. So you got to miss all of the Zoom debacle.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Honestly, it was kind of nice to have the Zoom meetings because you could wear whatever you want and just
Yes.
do whatever you want during the meeting, which was nice.
Hmm.
So what's been the most exciting thing for you since waking up?
I've been enjoying just like a world of discovery. Like it's a brand new world. And I've been enjoying the things that were kind of denied me as a child. I loved fantasy, and it was confusing in my
Yes.
childhood because sometimes it was okay and sometimes it was not okay. And I never
Yeah.
knew what it was. It was so confusing because sometimes something would be permitted and then all of a sudden there'd be maybe a talk or a convention or an article, and then all of a sudden my toys would be in the garbage
Oh,
or
that's
videos or something or books would
Did
be
you ever
gone.
have any instances where maybe like a friend would get upset if they saw that you had something?
Yeah, even up until recently as an adult, there would be ministerial servants in our congregation or an elder that would come into our house and be like, "Oh, what video games do you like to play?" Because I enjoy video games too.
Oh, cool. What
And
video
so
games do you like to play?
I love everything Final Fantasy and Kingdom
Yes.
Hearts. Yes, I
Oh
love
my gosh,
all
Kingdom
of
Hearts
those.
was my
Yeah.
first video game.
Oh,
And well, that's not true. I guess it was the first memorable one on like an actual console on a
hmm.
television. But have you tried Fire Emblem?
No, I haven't even heard of this.
I
A
will
Fire Emblem.
drop that in the Discord for you real quick
Okay,
before I forget.
awesome.
It is a really good strategy game. Slash, it's like an RPG strategy game. It's great.
Yes.
If you like Final Fantasy, you'll probably like this game.
Okay.
So what was your reaction when they would get upset at some of the quote unquote magical items in your house?
Well, one guy that was chummy with my husband, wanted to know what games I played. So I was like, "Oh, I like Kingdom Hearts." And he was like, "Well, technically you are practicing magic through an avatar." And I
He
was
had
like,
issues with Kingdom Hearts. I feel
"Yeah,
like it's
he
so
did."
unproblematic. Oh, I guess it's Disney.
Because you're casting spells technically, like you cast fire or ice, elementals. So
Yeah.
I took his counsel to heart and I threw away all my magic games because it was a
No.
brand new congregation. We were trying not to like sabotage making friends because we were really lonely. Like,
Yeah.
brand new congregation, had no friends. The other one we came from was very cliquey, and
Yeah.
we were there a year and had no friends.
Wow.
So I took the counsel to heart, threw everything away, only to find out this dude plays Legend of Zelda. He plays and reads Lord of the
Which,
Rings. And I was like, so
wow,
scandalized
he's
because, like,
okay with fairy magic, just not Disney magic.
yeah. And then I was
Wow.
researching like Legend of Zelda because I was so mad.
Yeah, I
And
don't blame you.
Ganondorf is a chaos demon.
Yeah,
So
literally, and
then,
like they're all kind of deities. Like it's
uh-huh.
there's huge themes of reincarnation in
Hmm.
Zelda. It's a huge
And
theme.
like the triune goddesses too, like that you have to pay homage to acquire certain magical weapons. I
Yeah,
was like, so I was angry because I felt it was so hypocritical. He wasn't really offended. He just wanted to show dominance
yeah,
and make me feel ashamed. So
yeah.
that sucked.
That does suck. That's really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, to kind of back up a little bit, were you disappointed in Kingdom Hearts 3?
I haven't finished it yet.
I
I'm in the
haven't
middle
either.
of it. I'm
I'm
in
not even I'm
oh,
not even
okay.
in the middle of it. I get bored.
Yes.
It's very boring.
It is because I feel like I'm just watching the Disney films again,
Yeah.
instead of something new.
Yeah.
So I started it maybe in October, and I'm
Mhm.
only in the Rapunzel part.
I didn't I made it to the Hercules part. Oh,
Okay,
no, I
yeah.
just got to Toy Story. I got to Toy
Okay.
Story, and then I more of the video just watching TV,
Hmm.
and, yeah, I got bored and I switched over to, Zelda: Link's Awakening,
Okay.
um, and I don't know, have you played the Zelda games?
No, I haven't. I got sucked into Final Fantasy 14 online, and
Yeah, that
so that
one's addicting.
yeah, there's so many like different add-ons and stuff that I'm
Mhm.
still like engulfed in that. It's still new to me, so
Well, I highly recommend, Zelda: Link's Awakening because it's a very short game. It's only about 20 hours.
oh,
Um, yeah, so
that'll be nice.
I struggle to finish video games myself, and so it was the one that kickstarted me into actually finishing games because it was such a low commitment game.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds
highly
right up my
recommend.
alley.
Yeah. So, were you mentioned a bit about how you were a kid when some of this stuff happened. So, were you raised as a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, I am. It's I'm not sure if I'm third or fourth generation
Oh,
because my grandpa and his father came into the organization around the same time.
okay.
So, yeah,
And
my
how
great
long ago was
grandfather.
that? Because that
Um, so this was before my dad was born.
Mhm.
So, um, I would put that around the 40s or the
Mhm.
50s. Yeah.
Okay.
So third slash fourth generation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are they currently still in the organization?
So I have no grandparents right now. They passed away when I was pretty young.
Okay.
My parents are in, and I have aunts and uncles that are in. I have
Mhm.
one sister that's Pimo.
Oh,
Uh, hmm
that's nice.
but she lives with mom and dad, so that
Oh, how
she
is
has
she
to.
younger?
She is 39.
Okay.
She's an adult, and
Yeah.
she feels like I think she's preemie enough to where she doesn't see the abuse in the organization. She just doesn't believe in it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for her, she can continue going because she feels it's, you know,
She can divorce
misguided.
the
Hmm.
yeah.
It's misguided, but not bad in her mind. And then
I think a lot of people feel that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Even people
hmm
that aren't PME, even people that haven't woken up. I know I felt that way for a very long time. I felt like and you might relate to this, that some of the teachings I disagreed with, but I felt like
Hmm.
the organization was beneficial overall and
Right.
that I was better to be in it than out of it, whether I believed or not. Do you kind of
Yeah.
relate to that feeling, or is that kind of where she's at?
I see her believing that, yeah, that
Yeah.
she just she kind of like unraveled. She started reading books about the brain and the mind, and that's
Hmm.
where she deconstructed and realized, all religion is kind of not real, but she feels that the organization is charitable enough and does good things to where it erases the bad things.
Do
And
you
she's
think that
very
the organization is charitable?
no, she hasn't not done any research at all, whereas I did the research. I looked into things.
Hmm.
So very we're both very different that way, and she also
Yeah.
is very guarded too. Like I feel like she's protecting, she wants to hold on to the image that it's good, because if it's not good, I don't think that she would feel okay with herself for
Yeah.
supporting it. So I have to be very careful when I talk to her, because she gets very defensive.
Yeah. Just a
So,
little bit, yeah. And
mhm.
it's such a stressful situation to be in. I think the only thing more stressful than Pima would be Pomi. And
Yes.
I do
Mhm.
not I feel so bad for people that are physically in or physically out, mentally in. It
Yeah.
is terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. So concerning your believing family, how do they treat you now? Do they talk to you? Do they shun you?
So when they first found out we weren't going to meetings, my mom, who is kind of wears the pants in the family,
Huh?
she tried to cut me off. And when
Okay.
she found out that my two other sisters, so I have three sisters, one has been out for 20 years, and
Oh
the
wow.
family does not ever talk to her. She has been completely cut off. My other two sisters, um, the younger one's Pimo, and then my older sister's Pimi. So,
Okay. So the
um,
sister that you haven't had contact with in 20 years, have you gotten back into contact with her?
yes, yep,
Oh, that
yeah,
must be nice.
yeah, it is awesome, and she's amazing, and I love her so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
great.
my mom, well, when we first stopped going to the meetings, my mom cornered us, and
Hmm.
tried to um she tried to cut me off. And when she found out my other sisters weren't backing her on that, she did a full reversal and pretended like nothing happened.
How
And
did that make you feel?
um I wasn't too surprised, because I'd already seen what had happened with my older sister. So it wasn't as big a shock, but just disappointed that,
Yeah.
yeah, that she was ready to throw away an entire daughter in the garbage, you
Yeah,
know.
that's not something that you can just shake off.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's very, very heavy, and I know that a lot of witnesses are led to believe that it's loving,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel loving. It
No.
feels traumatizing and terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that you went through that, and I know that that must complicate your guys' relationship a little bit.
Yeah, she right now she treats me like, it's very strange, like I'm a daughter that never got baptized. Like she
Hmm.
kind of treats me like, she's trying to encourage me, and um kind of kind of preaches a little bit, but
Do you think maybe
she,
she's doing that to justify associating with you to herself?
yeah, because
So that
she's
way if she gets
mhm.
questioned, she can say, "Oh, well, I'm trying to bring her back."
Yeah, and then also she has four grandchildren and two great grandchildren that she does not ever see.
Oh,
My two
wow.
kids are her only grandchildren left, and I
Mhm.
think it scared her that she was about to lose her only grandchildren.
I mean, it's the plot of the movie Apostasy.
Yeah. And
That's
then also she tried to go around me through my husband to see if maybe she could get away with cutting me off and
oh,
just
wow.
associating with him to see the kids.
Wait,
And
so was he still, Pimo?
he was still half, He was questioning. He was like PimQ.
Okay.
He was questioning.
Yeah.
So she was
Man.
trying to, I could see she was trying to angle to see if she could get around me to see the kids.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, my husband wasn't giving her the validation that she was looking for, then she kind of just decided to settle with having a tentative, kind of elephant in the room relationship with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it's
That's
been. Just kind of
that
careful.
is
Hmm.
awkward.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully it's helped you heal a little bit to have
Hmm.
some kind of relationship with her, even though it is very weird.
Yeah. And for the
Because
kids, I think, yeah, because they're too young to know what's going on. And I don't want to make a decision for them
yeah,
that they didn't sign up for.
and I think that's extremely important. And you said they were how old? 12 and 14?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get what you mean when you I think it's really nice that you are not allowing them to make that decision right now.
Yeah. Because I mean, they want to see their grandmas, both their
Yeah.
grandmas. Yeah. So, I can't rip the rug out from under them that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great thing.
Mhm.
And I'm not a parent, so take
Yeah.
my words with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Um, do
Yes.
you have worldly family that have never been witnesses? And did they know that you considered yourself one of the anointed?
So I do have worldly family, but no, because they, on both sides, both my husband's and mine, our worldly family are very religious, and they're like
Oh.
evangelical.
Oh.
There's Baptists and there's Mormon,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah.
You
So
have a whole slew of high control groups there.
so
That's
we,
intense.
before, like, even as JWs, we really wouldn't talk religion with them because it
Mhm.
would just get messy.
Yeah.
So it was just whenever we did see them, conversations were light and about like sports and news and
Yeah.
stuff. So they had no idea. They don't know what anointed is because they all have different theologies of what that is. And
And it was too much to
yeah,
try to explain, and they're not going to believe it anyways. Yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
And I never
Yeah.
felt drawn to telling them. Like I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I wanted to tell them.
Yeah. Um, what made you come to the realization that you were anointed? And does that inform how you feel right now?
Okay, so there was a brother that was an sorry for the JW lingo.
You
There
know what?
was,
Yeah, I still say the truth, so
yeah,
I
okay.
can't blame you there.
Yeah, he discovered he was anointed and he was close to our family. Like he and his wife were friends with us. So it was fascinating to me. And I remember when he told my husband, who told me, a chill went up my spine. And so I
Yeah.
thought that meant something. So then I started like researching, I started reading the Bible and researching the Hebrew and Greek um, translations and just
Mhm.
like getting really deep into it. And when you read the Bible, it's all about the anointed. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't talk about paradise on earth. It talks about the anointed going to heaven with Christ. And so that was starting to resonate with me more than the literature, which is all about paradise. Because I was
Yeah.
like, I want to go straight to the Bible. What does the Bible say? Not the
Yeah.
literature. So the Bible, is telling me you're anointed.
Yeah.
And then also this brother that was friends with us, was sharing his experiences, which now I know are very human experiences. But my brain was like, oh, I feel the same. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
I must be anointed too. So then I started praying and asking God, if I'm anointed, let me know. And
Mhm.
so it seemed like the answer was pushing me yes, because, you know, the brain likes confirmation. And
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about that. So I'm thinking like everything that I'd saw had some special meaning or significance
Yeah.
that was telling me, yeah, you're totally anointed. Yes. At the
Wow.
same time, the anointed brother was kind of like grooming me too, because he would say, you're special, you're a really a deep spiritual person. And other people too in the congregation were saying, like, your answers at the Watchtower are not normal. there's
Oh, wow.
something, yeah, it was like
You had a lot of
major,
confirmation going on there.
yeah, lots of confirmation, yeah, to where, you know, it was like, well, this is very definite, and
Yeah.
Jehovah's telling me it.
And
So
does that, does it inform how you feel right now? Like, does it affect how you currently feel, having believed that you were one of the anointed?
I don't feel it because it feels so far away. I mean, no, it's only been
It
maybe two
hasn't
and a
been
half
that
years.
long.
Yeah, 2.5 years seems like, oh, I don't know, it's so weird, like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really hasn't been that long, really. But no, I feel like having shed the cult personality, I'm still getting to know who I really am, because there's
Yeah.
so much of your personality is shaped and formed and imposed upon that you aren't allowed to be your authentic self. And so I feel like, that was part of my cult personality.
Mhm.
And I don't feel that way now. I feel like I just want to relate and connect to humans and
Yeah.
be a normal person and live a normal life and do normal things. And I'm enjoying that. It feels good.
It's exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very stressful and scary to start from scratch, especially
Hmm.
when you don't really know who you are. I think what you said was very insightful about how when they say that people who are leaving cults or high control groups have to deconstruct or deprogram,
Hmm.
I don't think I really grasped what it meant until now,
Yeah. Yeah.
until recently, because you don't fully understand how it has molded your personality, and we should understand it because we say put on the new personality when we're in
Yeah.
in the organization. I almost
Yeah.
said it, the truth. um, so it. Oh, sorry, phone buzzed. So it's. I think that's really insightful because I think it's something that can easily be overlooked.
Hmm.
A lot of people struggle to shed that
Hmm.
um, Jehovah's Witness
Yeah.
personality. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
Hmm.
So did you ever have doubts about being one of the anointed?
Well, if I did, they were quashed by like people in the congregation confirming to me. I did have pushback from my husband because he was very upset. Like
Oh, was
he,
he? Why
yeah,
was he upset?
because he felt that he was losing his wife. He wasn't
Yeah.
going to be able to go to paradise with his wife, and it was that was one of the things too that helped wake him up, because he was praying to Jehovah, please don't take her away from me, which is really
Oh,
sad.
that is very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, and he didn't tell that to me till when we were leaving, but he didn't want it to be true. Um, so yeah, it was just really
Well,
like a
and that's very complicated too because that would make you because then if you decide that you're not one of the anointed, that potentially paints you to be a liar, which is even more complicated than
yeah, a
like
liar
there's
or
just so many layers to that.
a liar or mentally unstable. So
Yeah.
neither one is good. And so um I don't remember. I remember questioning, I kept asking Jehovah, I need more evidence. I need more evidence.
Hmm.
So I questioned that. But once I committed to partaking, cognitive dissonance will kind of do the rest. So like you make a decision and then your brain wants to support that decision because it wants to believe that it's made the right decision. So once I committed to partaking, I was in the role. I was
Yeah.
anointed, and I didn't doubt after that.
Wow. It's
Mhm.
amazing what the brain can convince us of.
Right.
It's,
Hmm.
I mean, we should know that considering we were convinced that it was the truth, but
Yeah.
you know, I can still be surprised.
Hmm.
How did people treat you after you first partook?
Not good. So I had seen how people treated other people that partook, and they were gossiped about, they
Hmm.
were slandered and laughed about. Or so when I like had the realization that I was anointed, I knew that I was not going to be popular at all, and that people would not like me. So when it did happen, I wasn't surprised. Um, there were brothers in my congregation that wouldn't give me comments for almost a year. They,
Wow.
yeah, I
I've
was,
actually never seen a response that negative before.
yeah, it was me, and there was another woman in the congregation that she decided she was too, and then that elder. And so,
It's a lot of anointed people in one congregation.
yeah, we were talked about a lot. Like, word spread around about our congregation because there was 3 all at once. So, and it kind of split the congregation too, because there were half, I would say around half, that were very kind and supportive and were like, I see it, I believe it. And then the other half that were treating us like we were
Like
apostates
you're
or crazy people.
like you're a false prophet or
Uh-huh.
something.
Yeah.
Which is very frustrating because it has nothing to do with anyone else.
You're right.
Whether or not someone is anointed, if you do believe in the witness theology,
Mm-hmm.
it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's
And
a
it even
personal
says,
decision.
yeah,
Even
and
if
it
you're
says it,
wrong, who cares?
and the literature says that too, but the culture of the congregation is its own monster.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was divisive because there was some that were very kind and supportive, and then there were others that were just horrible.
Yeah. So do you feel like it lowered your perceived status in the congregation from where it was before you partook?
Um, in a way, I think it made me try to win them over.
Mm.
So my response was, okay, I'm going to sign up to Pioneer, and I'm going to jump through all the hoops, and I'm going to be the
A
best
super
person.
witness.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to be, yep. So I started inviting all the elders' wives out in service with me, and I was pioneering and um, just trying to be the bigger person.
Yeah. Trying to be a
So
spiritual, a source of strength for people.
yeah. And so after the first year was hard. After that, people relaxed around me,
Mm-hmm.
and like but I always felt people were careful, like kind of
Mm.
handling me with kid gloves kind of thing. Like we like her, but be careful because she thinks she's anointed kind of thing.
Yeah. I have to
Mhm.
admit, I also was very careful around the anointed, not because I felt that they were crazy, but because I was nervous that I would offend them.
Oh,
That's how I felt. And my
yeah.
uncle is one of the anointed, and it terrified me. I mean, anytime he texts me, calls me, I'm just like, all right, what did I do? And
Yeah.
he's never contacted me to tell me I've done something wrong. But there's that weird built-in fear where I'm like, well, he's an agent of Jesus, so
Yeah.
he's watching, he
And they're
knows.
supposed to judge all of humankind. Yeah.
Yep, and maybe not now, but in the future. So what if he feels like he can now, and what if he totally is able to? And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Hmm.
mess. So did the memorial feel different for you? Like, was the experience any different compared to before you believed you were anointed?
Yeah, because I was riding an adrenaline high. Like the very first memorial was
Whew,
like a
yeah.
big rush. It was like, whoo,
Well, that crunch sound is loud.
it is. It's so loud. Yeah. And I had the 2 others there with me, so we kind of were supporting each other. We were
Yeah.
kind of were like trauma bonding too.
Oh.
So that first year, yeah, we partook. It was like a big emotional high, and it
Yeah.
felt good. The next, I think I partook 3 years after that, and it was more anxious and stressful
Yeah.
because often I sat alone. It was just me and the kids because my husband had privileges, so he
Oh,
had to leave me and either do sound, or he was part of like passing the
just
plates and stuff,
constantly running around.
and they had him running everywhere.
Yeah.
So after that, it was just me and the kids, and so I felt really exposed because I didn't have someone
Mhm.
sitting kind of next to me, kind of shielding me a little bit.
Yeah.
So it the next 3 were terrifying.
Yeah. I can
Hmm.
imagine. I mean, it's stressful. And so since there was three of you, they say that a bottle of wine serves three.
Mm.
Um, did you guys ever drink more than just the sip that you were owed during the memorial ceremony?
No, because I was like felt so exposed. I thought people are watching,
And they
and I
are, that's true.
and I was the kind of person that I'm an introvert, and I don't like the spotlight, and so I was telling myself, don't give anyone any cause for, stumbling, or give them any cause to look down on you. So the
That
first,
is such an anxious state to be in.
yeah,
And
yeah,
considering how much you were doing for the hall, trying to be a spiritual leader in a sense. I mean, did you feel like you could ever relax, or were you just for those
no,
4 years just kind of on edge?
no, I poured my heart into my comments because the ministry I was not good at, because, as an introvert, yeah, I was aware that everyone was expecting me to have like a million Bible studies, and I couldn't get a Bible study.
I never had one. I
Yeah.
pioneered for 2 years and I never had a Bible study ever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah. I tried too. My husband had, like at one time, like 8 to 10 Bible studies, because he would go to work, and,
Mhm.
after he was at work, he befriended his coworkers. And so they already had a relationship with each other,
Mhm.
which made the doorway to having a Bible study so much easier. Whereas
Yeah.
when you make cold
Cold
calls
calls?
at the door, yeah, you don't have that relationship, and it's so difficult to get a Bible study that way.
I don't
So,
know if you tried this, and it doesn't work. But towards the end of my pioneering career, for lack of a better term, I was
mm-hmm.
so depressed and so burnt out, and I would make sure that I was going to the door by myself. I would do a tiny little knock if someone answered, because I had developed such bad social anxiety, and it was
Yeah,
actually from other people in the hall.
yeah,
I'd do a tiny little knock, and then I'd say, "Hi, I'm offering free home Bible studies. If you would like one, say yes. If you do not want one, please tell me no, and I
mm-hmm.
won't come back.
Yeah,
In fact, if you don't want any of us to ever come back, you can let me know, and I'll put your name on a list."
yeah,
I did that for probably 3 months, and people responded really well to it. They all said no, but they were very nice. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah,
They like
that's
it when you get to the point, but
yep,
when you're with somebody, they're watching, and I
yep.
never ended up being alone. It was horrible. I always had somebody watching, so I had to be on point like all the time. And I had to watch everything, and like people would pounce on me if I didn't
Yeah.
do it the way they thought I should do it. Like, because what was it? They wanted us to do an intro, then
Mhm.
you have to share a scripture.
Yep.
'Cause that's what the little silhouette videos tell you to do. And
Yep.
if I
The
didn't do
shadow
it,
people.
oh yeah, people would, they'd be quick to shame me for it,
Yeah,
because
because
they
you're
were
not
just,
following direction.
yeah.
Do you feel any residual kind of, for lack of a better term, paranoia of feeling watched?
I did at first, but not now. So like, um, yeah, I don't feel that way
That's
anymore.
good.
I once in a while I'll have dreams where I'm all of a sudden I'm in the Kingdom Hall sitting at the meeting or a convention, and I'm looking
Mhm.
around, and I thought, why did I think this was a good idea? Why did I come here? Like,
Oh,
because in the dream, you're just all of a sudden there. You don't,
yeah.
and then I'm thinking like, why did I do this? What? So once in a
Jeez.
while I have those, but when I
Yeah.
was, when I was in the organization, I used to have nightmares that I would all of a sudden be in somebody's bedroom, like an intimate part of their house.
Oh, weird.
And I was out in service, and I'm in their bedroom, and they are away, and then they come in the house and discover me there.
And you're like, "Hi, I'm here to
Yeah.
talk to you
And
about."
yep. And I did. Then I have to go right into my spiel and try to convince them this is totally normal that I'm in their bedroom.
I had those nightmares too. It was
Yeah.
so weird. I also had a nightmare where somebody, I couldn't find the door, so I knocked on a window. He opened the window a little bit, and he goes like this, like gesturing for me to go around. So I go around, and the house never ends, and I never find the window again. And I
Yeah.
just keep going around, and then I woke up,
Yeah.
which is
Stress
funny
dreams.
because I would
Yeah.
never do that because I would never put that much work into making sure someone was home.
Yeah.
Um, did being anointed affect your relationships with friends and family at all, and in what ways?
Yeah, with my family, I felt like they were trying to be careful of my emotional and mental health. So
Mhm.
they were kind, but I could tell, just by certain things they said, that they didn't really believe it.
Oof. They definitely
So
had family meetings to talk
yeah,
about it, and that's really anxiety inducing.
yeah, because like my PME sister would say things like, because she was really really happy she got a Bible study and was telling everybody,
Hmm.
and she's like, how many Bible studies do you have? And it was like, I don't have any right now. Well, have you thought about praying to Jehovah for one? It's like one of those things. And so
Yeah,
I could
dude,
tell like
it's
it was kind of like a little condescending, because it's like,
that's
well, did you
a
really?
lot of condescending.
Yeah, because it's like, you have the audacity to think you're anointed, but
Yeah.
you're not questioning why you don't have a Bible. Like Jehovah hasn't
Oh,
blessed
that's
you
so
with one yet.
weird.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. That I've had a similar experience as someone who's not anointed. I
Hmm.
worked with a brother who every single time he'd pass me would say something. And the last thing he ever said to me before I left was, "Have you made your mind over today?"
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "No, I haven't, Dale. Have you? When was the last time you studied, Dale? Why don't you go talk to somebody else, Dale? Stop checking on my spiritual progress." Um,
Yeah,
and I said that and he stopped. So,
that's good. Well, that's the thing, is like there were so many spiritual dominance displays where
it's
they're trying to size you up and they're puffing
mhm.
out their feathers to, yeah.
It's really weird. And it's funny because you're told it's a loving organization and the brothers and sisters have so much love, but then there's all this posturing.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
because of that word control, sometimes it's hard to acknowledge what you see right in front of you
Hmm. Yeah.
because you're told something. I mean, you're gaslit.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's hard. I mean, like you said, cognitive dissonance. So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
With
are there,
friends,
yeah,
yeah,
with
with friends,
friends.
well, I didn't have any.
Oh,
There were some that I was close to that were kind, but I just never, I had a really hard time getting close with people.
hmm.
Um, so like the friends that I was friends with, I did see a change, but then my view was like, oh, I understand why they think that way. It's okay for them to think that way.
Hmm.
I understand. And so
Giving the
then
benefit of the doubt.
then I just tried to be like really, really patient and kind with them,
Yeah.
thinking, well, they'll come around. And if not, that's okay. I have Jehovah. So,
Oh,
oof.
that, yeah. I mean, I hope that line of reasoning brought you comfort
Yeah, at the time it
at the
did.
time. Okay, that's
Yeah,
good. You
because,
know,
what do you, yeah,
when
people
you believe
could,
it,
yeah, which I did. And
yeah,
I was full, like, yeah, I just went head first deep into everything about it.
yeah. Well, and I'll never discount people's experiences where they feel that God supported them
Hmm.
because whether or not God exists, regardless, um, being able to have that positive talk, like self-talk in your brain,
Hmm.
um, is going to affect your attitude towards things.
Yeah.
So whether that's praying or just, making your mind over for yourself,
Hmm.
it has a positive effect regardless of whether or not God has anything to do with it. So, but it is a very powerful feeling. So I can see why it's so easy to believe that God exists.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's comforting to people.
Yeah. I know it brought me a lot of comfort. It doesn't anymore, but it did. Are
Yeah.
there do you feel like there are any perceived difficulties in being anointed and a woman in comparison to men?
Um, yes,
Because I know you had a
because
male friend who was anointed. So, do
mhm,
you feel like you guys were treated differently in any way?
in some ways we were. He went into it thinking he was going to be accepted immediately and
Mm.
everyone would love him.
Is that
So
what happened?
no.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a rude awakening for him, and he did not like it at all. So
Oh,
he wanted to be accepted, and he liked hearing the praise, and he wanted to keep that good vibe going. And so, but as for men and women, yeah, because the literature so often depicts it as like an elderly man is grabbing the cracker. An elderly man is sipping the wine.
mhm.
They reinforce the stereotype. It's an older, mature
Man.
male member of the organization with privileges
Yeah.
or a glowing Bethel resume. And
Mhm.
so for me, I think I felt very exposed that I was just being audacious and presumptuous, as a woman
Mhm.
to seize that privilege,
Well,
Um,
and for the real quick, for those who don't know, those who are listening or watching, when the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the anointed, once they are resurrected to heaven, are genderless spirit creatures.
mhm.
So all of them will rule equally. And so with that belief in mind, how do you feel that that affected how you were treated as a woman in the congregation, knowing that at the time, believing and knowing that you would eventually rule with Christ in heaven?
So that was weird because like I remember questioning that because we would joke like, oh, I'm gonna have a beard, but it didn't seem real. Like I was thinking, I don't know about that because there is I think in Zechariah there's a scripture about two women with wings that
Mhm.
come and take, it's like a jar that's has another woman in it called wickedness away. So I thought,
Mhm.
there are women spirit creatures according to Zechariah. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll get to remain a woman. Yeah,
You're like, I don't know if I want to trade my boobs for a beard.
I know. Yeah.
Haven't decided yet. So,
Yeah.
sorry, lost track of my thoughts. Do you believe the elders deal with anointed ones differently or similarly to how other congregants are treated?
I think that they try to, like with us, and because it was so unusual that there was three of us that became anointed at the same time, they treated it like it was kind of like a red flag. So
Oh, really?
yeah, like that it was possible apostasy, and they were blaming
Oh,
the elder. Yeah, because he was the first, and then it was a 50-year-old woman, and then it was me. I was in my early 30s.
uh-huh.
So
That
they
is
they
fascinating.
yeah, they considered it, he was trying to groom people into believing they were anointed so he could start a cult.
Oh, do you think he
Yeah.
was?
No, I think he was lonely and he wanted other people to share in his joy. So
Yeah.
he would have people, I think he just wanted human connection. And
Yeah.
he felt, he was um, given this wonderful privilege. And
Mhm.
his first thought was, who else? Who else?
Yeah.
And so he started,
Is he still in?
he's Pomey. So he's physically
Oh,
out, but he still believes.
yeah.
Yeah. He just thinks that, I think, I get the sense that early Watchtower to him was the real truth,
Mhm.
and it's apostatizing from how it started.
Yeah. No, that is a really difficult position to be in. So when one of the anointed goes to the elders for counsel,
Mm-hmm.
is it different?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. We had a weird situation where we weren't going to the elders for counsel, but we needed their help. There was a mentally ill man in his 30s that was acting in a very sexual way with the children in the
Mhm.
congregation. And come to find out, people had been complaining about him for 10 years, and he was still not watched, and he was allowed to do things that no one should do.
Yeah.
Isolating kids, touching them, like grabbing them and squishing them against him in a bear hug.
And they knew and they wouldn't watch him?
Yeah, I found out that he had bitten a woman on her breast, right in the middle of the Kingdom Hall, where everyone could see, and it was just like, oh,
That's
that's
just
he, yeah, that's just what he does. His hormones are out of control, so it was normalized and downplayed like nothing. When
yeah,
that
and
is,
lions hunt. You don't put a lion in a room like in the middle of a room with a bunch of gazelles and
yeah,
say, "Oh, that's just what he does."
yeah, and that was sexual assault.
Yeah.
That should have been a thing. That was criminal.
Yeah.
So, um, like we never really went to them for counsel. We were going to them to try to address the situation because he kept
Yeah.
targeting my kids. Um, but we were not supported at all.
Not at all.
They came to our house. They wrote everything down, every incident that I said, and there were many. And they were like, "Thank you, sister," and they prayed with us. They left, and then nothing changed.
Nothing at all.
Yeah,
And what's sad about that is the bare minimum they could do is watch him
yeah,
because I know of a case of pedophilia in one of the sister congregations of the congregation that I went to growing up. And I just learned this yesterday. There was a pedophile in that congregation. And what the elders did was basically they said, you can't, I mean, they disfellowshipped him, but then they also wouldn't let him be alone when he went to the bathroom.
Okay.
They watched him like a hawk.
Oh.
And all of the elder bodies knew in that town because, they wanted to make sure it didn't happen again. And he actually molested a studies child in the Kingdom Hall bathroom. And so they, they made sure to watch him like a hawk. I'm actually pretty sure that his wife also reported him. So that's a positive case of people stepping in. So it shocks me that, or not, it doesn't shock me, but it's sad to me that your congregation couldn't do the bare minimum to protect the kids.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
it was the elders, and they didn't want to do anything. It was all women that were coming forward to complain about him. There were about maybe 5 or 6 different women that came to me and said, watch out for him because he's done this. Watch out for him because he's done that. And I found out they were telling the elders, and they were all being told, we're aware of the situation and it's being handled.
Do you think it would have been handled differently if a brother reported it?
Yeah, I do. I definitely, or if it happened to one of the elders' wives or children, it would have been different.
Yeah. Wait, so an elder's wife or child never had a negative interaction with this brother?
Yeah. He liked small children, and all the elders had like teen children. One ministerial servant had 2 daughters that were being targeted, but he was completely oblivious. It was my husband had to tell him, you need to watch him around your daughters. And I actually had to go and intervene because he had cornered them and was hovering over them and like trying to touch and stuff. And I came and just got in his face and wouldn't move. And then until he stormed off. So it was just nobody wanted to see it, because then if they saw it, they'd have to deal with it. So it was like they were in such denial that this was a problem. And almost like as if wishing it wasn't a problem would just make it go away. But it didn't.
That is common in the culture, unfortunately. Yeah. So is this ultimately what spurred your decision to leave the organization?
Yeah, this was going on. Like I was having panic attacks thinking of bringing my children to the Kingdom Hall. The kids were crying when we'd get them ready, saying, I don't want to go to meeting. I don't want to go to meeting. I ended up writing a letter because the elders weren't doing anything, and I itemized every single incident in the letter to the circuit overseer. And he wrote back to me, your letter has been forwarded to all the elders in the congregation. So which was horrifying because I didn't know he was going to do that. I thought it was
upsetting.
Yeah.
You thought it was confidential.
Yeah, basically telling all the elders, this is what she's saying about you.
Wow.
Because I went over their head. So.
And did he say, is that why he forwarded it to, you didn't go over their head, you went to them first.
Yeah. But it was treated like, he just said, I'm giving this very detailed letter to all the elders in your congregation. Your loving shepherds will get in contact with you soon. So in other words, it's not my problem, it's theirs, and I've made all of them aware of it.
Wow.
So he horrifying. Just circled it back to them. And then when his next visit came, he said nothing to us, nothing kind or supportive or encouraging. He said nothing about it. So yeah, that was part of my leaving. At that same time, the Watchtower study articles on how to deal with child molesters and the molested came out. And I had been
what did those articles say?
I was so disgusted with them because I had been anticipating them, because there was like the first of the series of 4 came out like a couple months before the other ones came out. And so I was like, oh, finally, they're going to call out that there's predators that are JWs in the congregation. They're finally going to say it. Like, that's what I thought.
Nope. What ended up happening?
Yeah, it said the elders will do everything in their power to restore that spiritually sick man. So in other words, we're going to hang on to the predators and keep them in our congregation. That's our resolve. And it,
I
our
can hear your
last,
cat.
yeah, my cat. Oh,
Cute.
yeah.
That's okay. She could stay.
Okay. Troya. So our last meeting was that last study article.
Wow.
Yeah, that we just decided, like, both of us to not go at the same time. We were kind of waiting for each other to be the one to say, oh, hey, gonna get ready for meeting, or hey, you ready to go out in service? So we were kind of just waiting for the other one to give the push to go, and neither of us did. And so after a couple weeks, we kind of like looked at each other and like, are we going back to meetings? And we kind of decided, yeah, I don't want to go back.
Yeah. And I can see why. I mean, that is a horrifying thing to face.
Yeah.
So what was the response to you deciding not to go back?
So for a while, the elders were coming by the house, and one time, because they always do surprise visits, they try to catch you, when you're home. My daughter had applied makeup to half of one side of my husband's face. So, and he fell asleep and took a nap. So, and then the doorbell rang. He forgot. He got up and opened the door, and it was an elder from our congregation. He had blush, mascara, eyeliner, and pink lipstick on exactly one half of his face. And when he got done talking to him, he realized he was wearing makeup. And it ended up just like we were laughing so hard. I think we scared him off.
It's like, what are these terrible people doing?
Yeah.
Not cross-dressing.
Yeah.
Man, that's really funny.
Yeah. And there were 2 more times they came by. Both we had the 2 ministerial servants came by like on school nights, like at 9:00 at night, invited themselves in just to like try to see if, and it was always to talk, not to me.
Yeah.
I feel like they thought he was being influenced by me, that I was, because later on there was a marking talk and it was about the Jezebel influence.
Yep.
So they liked him a lot, and I think they wanted to believe he was being led astray by, the evil woman.
So, deceived by Eve.
Yeah. So
my mother-in-law just said that to my husband an hour ago.
Oh my goodness.
Oops.
Yeah, well, my in-laws too, they couldn't believe, because I keep saying his name, my husband.
Would you like me to cut his name out?
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, my husband, he was treated like the golden child in his family, and so they really, really wanted to believe that I was emotionally abusing him and taking him out of the truth. And so now that he's been out for 2 years, he's not coming back. So I think that's been hard for them to adjust, that he's made his own decision and it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah. But they're going to have to realize it. Do you feel that being anointed hindered your path to leaving the organization? Like, did it cause any hiccups?
No, because after that, or around the time that study article came out, I was so disturbed that I gave myself permission to research Charles Taze Russell's divorce.
I did not know that he...
yeah.
I do know about this.
They briefly mention it in the Kingdom Proclaimers book.
What do they say about it in that book?
So in the book, they reference almost word for word an article that he wrote himself after the divorce. So he basically put out a PR Watchtower special edition where he told the entire narrative of what happened. And his narrative says that she became controlling and wanted to seize control of Watchtower. And when she was denied a greater role, then she stormed off and left him. That is not what happened.
Yeah. Do you want to tell our listeners what actually happened?
Yeah, I do. So the first place I went to was Watchtower Documents. I think it's .org, and it's Barbara Anderson's website. And
Mhm.
she is one of the people that wrote the Kingdom Proclaimers book. She was a researcher on it. So she had collected all of these newspaper articles that covered Charles Taze Russell, and I think her name is pronounced Mariah, their divorce. And she had actually stepped down from Watchtower. So she was a co-editor. So she contributed articles to Watchtower, but Charles was the main editor and was responsible for whatever went in there. Um, she, the way he was abusive, and he was a cruel man. She ended up stepping down after she found out he was unfaithful to her with
Oh, wow.
a secretary, Rose Ball. The secretary confessed to Mariah that they had been having something.
Canoodling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Victorian speak for, that.
Yes.
And so Mariah confronted Charles Taze Russell about it. And after that, he became very cruel to Mariah. And she stepped down because she found out he was altering her articles without her permission. So she would submit her article and he would make changes to it. And she found out and said, I don't agree with what you put in here because it's not scriptural. And he pulled the man card and said, you have no say in it. I will put in whatever I want to put in. It's my magazine.
Wow.
So she said, well, then I don't want to be a co-editor. Just make me a contributor. And as a contributor, he could deny all of her articles, which he did for, I think, 4 months after she stepped down. None of her articles appeared in a single one.
Wow.
And so the story that she couldn't seize control was false. He had seized control and was, committing forgery on her papers, not telling her. There was another incident where she became very sick. She had what was called erysipelas. It's a contagious skin disease that causes painful outbreaks of rashes and fever and fatigue.
Oh, no.
And people can die from it. So he kept her in a sick room. He refused her a doctor. He claimed that in the courtroom, that he was attentive to her and changing her bandages. She said no, that he would kick her out of the sick room and say, get out, I need to work in here. He at one point left for a week, and she became fearful that he was seeking to have her committed to a mental institution because he kept telling her, you're mentally ill and I have no choice but to put you in a mental institution.
Wow. Which at the time
was
horrific.
That could have been a death sentence.
Yeah.
So so Barbara Anderson's website, it's you have to dig through a lot of Brooklyn Daily Eagle articles to get the story, but it's very thorough. And he ultimately he tried to put her in a mental institution, so she fled. She ran to her brother, who is I believe was a paralegal, for legal help and sanctuary, because he was going to throw her away.
He was going to condemn her to death.
Yeah. So that's the story of what happened. So I had researched that, realized that the organization is toxic and corrupt from its roots to its tip. That there was no man of God involved. If Jehovah needed to use that man to spread his message, then I didn't want it.
Yeah. So, and I was telling a friend this the other day, either this isn't Jehovah's organization or Jehovah is not a loving God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way. So did you have any doubts or fears concerning leaving the organization?
I was worried, people would feel vindicated, like, aha, see, she's an apostate, or she she wasn't anointed at all, and look what happens to people who think that they are. Let this be a warning lesson.
Jeez.
I had the fear that I would be the warning lesson, but
Yeah.
now, it just seems silly that, yeah, it
And at
feels
the time, it's not silly. That's your whole world. So
exactly. Yep. It was. And now that I have other connections outside of that, it's like, who cares?
yeah,
hmm
yeah,
Let
that's
them
true.
talk. Yeah.
So this is funny because we just talked a lot of smack about the beliefs and everything in the organization and the people
hmm
in the organization being kind of toxic.
hmm
But what do you miss the most about being a Jehovah's Witness?
This question, yeah, is really challenging. Um, because there's times where I miss certain things. So
Hmm.
like sometimes I miss the structure,
Yeah.
but it's the structure without the pressure, without the fear, obligation, and guilt.
Yeah,
I
without the
miss,
gun to your head.
yeah, and
Yep.
the shaming, yes. Um, Occasionally, yeah, I'll miss having that kind of little cocoon, I guess,
Hmm.
but the feeling that the cocoon brought, of I feel safe, there's an answer for everything. Um, if I have worries, Jehovah will take care of it. Oh, if
Yeah.
I have fears or there's injustice, no worries, Jehovah will take care of it.
Yeah.
I miss kind of that feeling of just being so glib,
Secure.
yeah, and carefree that you just kind of breeze through life.
Yeah.
hmm So I miss that in a way. But as for like the other things, when I look back at like conventions, like, no, I don't miss that. That was boring.
Not at all.
I miss, I miss lunch at the convention. I
Yes.
can have lunch anywhere though.
See, I'm a
But
little bit I'm a little bit more shallow than you. The thing I miss the most is being able to just go anywhere in the world and have somewhere to stay,
yeah, that
have
was
people to hang out with.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
So, definitely a little bit of a shallow one for
I
me, but
no,
it
I
is
don't
what I
think
miss the
so.
most is just that instantaneous friendship. And maybe it's not a deep friendship, but you feel like you can trust everyone, which is sad because honestly, it's a false sense of security. You really can't
Right.
trust anyone
hmm
so readily, and you shouldn't. But I do
Yeah.
miss being that, like you said, carefree, kind
Yeah.
of naive, but carefree.
Yeah.
What do you
Having the
miss?
common, yeah, that common
Yeah,
background with somebody. hmm
exactly. What do you miss the least about being a Jehovah's Witness?
Uh, well, the spiritual routine was exhausting.
Did you actually follow it
Yeah, well, as a
in your
member,
private life?
oh, study, yeah, like I was
Cool.
very rigid and very literal. So
Yeah.
I took it to the letter. So, and then, but then I'd go back and forth too, because like before I became anointed, we were kind of, like fringe JWs. Like we weren't
Yeah.
really good. We weren't regular at anything. There was a time like after I had the kids where I wasn't on the school for years and years.
Oh, wow.
Then I didn't comment for years and years. And so we went from like being fringe witnesses to Uber witnesses, and then we just faded out.
To
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then so I can't remember where I was going with that.
Uh,
Um,
you were telling me about the thing you missed the least.
oh, okay. Yeah. Um, yeah, I was stressed and exhausted by the routine because I felt put on the spot so much, and like
Mhm.
people were watching you, and
Yeah. You were
um,
put on the spot.
mhm,
You're right to feel that way.
yeah. Um, I think just like the culture of just how toxic it was. I don't miss that. I don't miss the posturing and
Yeah.
the dominance displays, and
Yeah.
having to be careful what you say, and having to like figure out, how do I mention to someone I like this game or this book
Yeah.
or this movie, and am I going to be safe telling them I like this, or are they going to come
Yeah.
down on me?
How do I share my interests with people without their blood getting all over my hands?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I hate the tiptoeing and the walking on eggshells, and then
Yeah.
just like how toxic people are, because people just, there's so many mean people.
There are a lot of mean people in the organization. It's
Mm,
shocking. And it sounds like your hall had a good percentage of them.
yeah. Yeah.
That's really, really unfortunate. I mean, I guess actually that's probably lucky because I've been to Kingdom Halls where everyone is wonderful
Yeah.
all the time, and I don't think I would have ever left if
Yeah.
I had that hall. I mean, it's amazing that I don't know if you've watched Falling Tower. Uh,
Oh
he
no.
has one video, and it's an amazing video with a ton of views because he was an elder, and when he left, and in his exit video, for lack of a better term, he was very compassionate, and he talked about how amazing his Kingdom Hall was and how amazing the brothers and sisters were and how much he's going to miss it.
Mhm.
And I've talked to him personally, and honestly, it is amazing he ever woke up because having been an elder in a congregation where the elder body is really cohesive and everybody takes care of each other,
Mhm.
um, that would be hard to leave.
Yeah. I agree.
Even if you disagreed with the beliefs, I mean, that would be very, very hard to leave.
Yeah.
Um, so there's been a lot of discussion concerning oppression as a Jehovah's Witness, especially for sisters. Has recognizing that these issues won't disappear impact you? Because I know that something I always used to say was, because I'm huge into women's rights.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would like, especially as a witness, it was frustrating to me to not be able to just run the mics. Why can't I just run the mics?
Oh,
Am I so
I know.
fragile that I can't run mics?
Right.
And why does it have to be there aren't enough brothers in the hall, so now a sister has to do it?
Yeah.
So do you feel like, so I always thought to myself, well, I don't think this is how things were meant to be. I think this is because of that letter to the Christian congregation in Corinth, because Paul's a jerk.
Yeah.
And so I think we took this out of context, but it'll be corrected in the new system. And then sexism won't exist. I was looking forward to sexism disappearing and being able to just travel safely.
Yeah.
And knowing that that isn't going to happen
Mhm.
crushed me a little bit. Do you have any similar, I mean, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that the issues of today's world that you thought were going to disappear
Oh,
aren't?
yeah. Yeah, there was definitely a grieving process that
Mhm.
my husband and I went through. Like we grieved hard because, you know, everything wasn't going to be magically fixed, you know.
Yeah. And that
Um,
means your kids are going to have to live in this system of things. And
mhm. Right. So, and then also uh, the grieving of the loss of wasted time, you know, thinking because you're like, I don't need to take art classes because I'm going to be painting forever in paradise, or I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do this because I'm going to have all the time in the world in paradise.
because you need to store up treasures in heaven,
Yeah.
not on earth.
So there, yeah, there was grief over the loss of so much wasted potential and things, missed opportunities, things that you never did because you
Yeah.
thought you could do it later. So yeah, it was hard. People need to understand that you need to give yourself time to grieve
Yeah.
and be patient with that because it's painful to have that shock of realization.
Yeah. And especially when you no longer believe that there's going to be a new system. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it is horrifying. So,
Yeah.
um, what are your current beliefs?
Right now, I would say that I'm agnostic or slash atheist because just in the absence of belief, I have not seen the evidence. Reading about the brain and how it works, how it comes to form beliefs and opinions,
Mhm.
um, made me realize it was all me. And so outside of me, I haven't seen the evidence, I'm open to that, if God wants to talk to me, maybe I'll change my
So, like,
mind. But
if
right
you want
now,
to
yeah.
present some evidence, I will submit it to the court. But
Uh-huh.
right
Yeah.
now, maybe not.
Yeah. And just like the Bible, like deconstructing the Bible, things written in it, you realize, this is very human. This
Yeah.
this isn't coming from a supernatural outside person's perspective. This is a person writing about what they're seeing and experiencing in the time that they're living.
And when
And
you
so,
stop looking at it as a guideline for your life and start
mhm.
looking at it as theology, it really doesn't seem that much different than Greek mythology or like
Yes.
a lot of mythologies. And so, in fact, a
Yeah.
lot of them have similar trends. They even talk about that in the Man's Search for
Mankind's search for
mankind's search for
God.
God. But I always say
Yeah.
God's search for mankind as if he lost them and they disappeared. I
Yes.
always get it mixed up. Like, where'd they go? It's just a book about God looking for mankind. He misplaced them.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah. Oh no. They even make that connection talking about Noah's sons and how mythology may have spread.
Mhm.
I talked to a Bethelite about that very thing, and I don't understand how I could make that connection and say, oh, mythology supports the Bible. It
Yeah.
substantiates the Bible because these experiences obviously got altered along the way, and that's how we got all those different mythologies.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it does, but not really. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the Bible is accurate. It just means that humankind had common experiences in the early days, and that's okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for those who are thinking about leaving or for those who have already left?
Yeah, for those that have already left, be patient with the grieving process. I know, um, there's some, I've spoken with some that when they first, realized it was all not real, were even suicidal too, because that's how shocking it is. And, everybody also has a different setup of support. There's some people that are completely alone, where they've been abandoned by parents or they've been abandoned by spouses. Um, so I know, like, there's some that don't like PMOs and say,
Mhm.
I've heard it said in some of the XJW communities, um, quit being a coward. Why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
Or if you don't believe in it, why don't you just leave? Because some have been, hobbled and handicapped their whole life to be dependent on certain family members, and not everyone is set up to be able to leave.
Yeah.
Some can't. And so I feel that, PMOs deserve all the love of the XJW community, because, I feel for them. If they wanted to leave and they couldn't, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So, I believe people, everyone should be patient with their own individual circumstances. Um, and for people that are thinking about leaving, best what's going on in your life. That there's a community that's here to support you, but, you alone know what's best. And so, like, I'm grateful that my husband and I were able to leave without, pressure, that we were able to make our very first decision that way be our decision. And so I think that's important. People need to feel free to decide, what's best for them. Like my PMO sister, for example, she's decided she's okay with living at home and going to meetings. And so,
Mhm.
she's resolved that. And if it makes her happy, then I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
And so I just want, people to be happy.
Well, I
And,
think that's the entire point of leaving is that you want to make your own decision.
mm-hmm,
And so really the decision to leave, regardless of how you feel about the relationship, really should be, sorry, about the religion, should
mm-hmm.
really be on your own terms. I think that
Yeah,
is really important. I
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
yeah.
So where can people find you? Do you write anything and post anywhere, or are you on Twitter?
So I'm on Twitter under Mrs. Kidiotic. It's,
Kidiotic? And how do you
yeah.
spell that?
KITTIOTIC.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kidiotic. I think I actually follow you.
Yes. Yeah.
I do? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And, I'm really, really happy that you were willing to do this interview with me. It's the first interview I've ever done. And
Oh.
it was very nice to have you on this will be on the podcast and on my YouTube channel. And it's timely because we have the memorial coming up in 10 days.
Yes. Yep.
So, yep, it's on a lot of people's minds, whether you're a witness or not.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that we can do this again. This was fun.
Yes.
Or play video games sometime. I'm
I know.
gonna after I hit end broadcast, I'm gonna send you a bunch of stuff. So
Yay.
prepare to be flooded with recommendations and questions.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.